I wasn't invited. Not to a birthday, not to a vacation, to my brother's engagement party. When I asked my father why, he said, "It's just a reunion, Cassandra. Don't overreact." But it wasn't just a reunion. It was the only party I should have been at. And while they gathered at a 5-star hotel in Nürnberg, I stood at the top of Zugspitze, wearing the same jacket Jason gave me 2 Christmases ago. I took a photo. I posted it. By nightfall, their party had cracked open like glass. My name is Cassandra Vogel. I'm 29, a freelance interior designer based in Garmisch-Partenkirchen. And for most of my life, I believed family meant history. Shared roots, shared birthdays, shared defense in the hard seasons. I never imagined I would become the one they edited out. Quietly, cleanly, like I was never in the frame to begin with. This isn't a story about screaming matches, or ultimatums, or revenge. It's about something colder. The kind of betrayal that arrives in silence, through what isn't said, through invitations that never came, and explanations that insult the hurt. What happened that weekend in Nürnberg wasn't an accident, and what happened afterward wasn't revenge. But it did reveal everything they didn't want seen. If you've ever felt quietly erased by the people who were supposed to protect your place, if you've ever questioned whether you imagined the distance, you're not alone. Leave a comment below if you've lived through something like this, and subscribe if you believe silence doesn't mean weakness, because sometimes the loudest reckoning begins with saying nothing at all. It started with a dress, or more precisely, a photo of one. My cousin Angela had posted it on Instagram, 2 options laid out on her bed, both elegant, both captioned with a question. Which one for Jason and Megan's big day this weekend? Can't decide. At first, I smiled. Jason? Engagement party already? I hadn't heard anything about a date being set. But then the smile faded. Because no one had told me anything. Not a text. Not an email. Not even a forwarded group chat. I checked my calendar. Nothing there. Refreshed my inbox. Still nothing. I even checked the spam folder. Empty. It didn't feel like a mistake. It felt precise. Like I'd been edited out cleanly, as if someone had pressed delete and no one asked why. Jason and I had been close. We grew up like twins, only 3 years apart. He was the reason I knew how to make pancakes by age 10, because no one else was awake on Sunday mornings. He was the one who used to crawl into my room during thunderstorms, and the one who once called me the best sister in the world, right before falling off his bike. So yes, I called. First Mom, who answered like everything was fine. When I asked about the engagement party, her voice lifted just slightly, the way it always did when she was trying to smooth over something uncomfortable. "Oh, it's not really a party, sweetheart. Just a little get-together. Megan's family wanted to meet ours. Nothing formal." Then I called Dad. He didn't fumble. He didn't explain. He just said, flat, "It's just a reunion, Cassandra. Don't overreact." A reunion. That's what they called it. 100 guests, catered dinner at a 5-star hotel, formal dress code, and they called it a reunion. And suddenly, I wasn't just left out. I was reframed. Removed from the picture, then told the picture didn't matter. I didn't call Jason. Not at first. After Dad's words, "Don't overreact," I sat in my kitchen for what felt like hours. No music, no emails, just the hum of the fridge and the quiet rage of being made to feel ridiculous for noticing I was excluded. It wasn't the forgetting that stung. It was the way they tried to frame it as nothing, as if a party I should have helped plan was somehow too small to mention. That night, I stood by the window, watching the mountains vanish into mist. Somewhere in Nürnberg, I imagined my brother's name being printed onto place cards. My name, nowhere. I could have called again, demanded answers, pushed harder. But I didn't want to beg to be acknowledged. That's a line I promised myself years ago I wouldn't cross, not even for family. So instead, I packed. 3 months ago, my coworkers and I had booked a ski trip to Zugspitze. The plan had been simple. 3 days off-grid. Snow. Silence. Reset. I almost canceled. But the idea of staying in Garmisch, letting the exclusion simmer inside me, felt worse than the sharp sting of mountain air. And I told myself, if they didn't want me there, I wouldn't try to be. I wouldn't fight for a seat at a table that had already been set without me. Still, when I reached for my ski jacket, I hesitated. It was the one Jason had given me 2 Christmases ago. Plum-colored, windproof, expensive. He'd researched it for weeks, saved up, left a note in the box that said, "Only the best for my big sis." I held it for a long time. Then I packed it anyway, because the version of him who gave me that jacket was still real, even if the one planning this party had no room left for me. Zugspitze was blinding that morning, not from snow, but from silence. The kind of clean, wordless quiet only mountains can hold. By the time we reached the summit, the wind had softened, and the sky had turned glass blue. Dana handed me my phone. "Come on," she said. "We need at least one picture of you up here." I hesitated. The jacket, the one Jason gave me, stood out like a mark across the snow. I hadn't planned to post anything. I just wanted to breathe, to exist without asking for space. But the sun hit at the right angle, and in that moment, it didn't feel like protest. It felt like proof that I was still here, still whole, still living. I smiled. Dana snapped 3 photos. I chose the second one. It was instinct, really, nothing calculated. I opened Instagram, typed the caption without thinking. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the one you're born into. Then I closed the app. No hashtags, no tagging, just that. By the time we reached the lodge 2 hours later, my phone had 18 notifications, another 30 by lunch. I didn't look right away. It wasn't until we were sitting around the fire pit, gloved hands around mugs of hot chocolate, that I saw Jason's name, then Megan's, then my mother's, then Angela, the cousin who had posted the dress. Messages flooded in, missed calls, screenshots. Angela: "Why would you post that today? Everyone saw it. Megan's crying. Jason looks like he wants to disappear." My mother: "You've embarrassed the family. Call me immediately." Jason's voicemail: "What the hell, Cass? That post? That timing? You really had to do this now?" I stared at the screen. Not angry, not smug, just stunned. Because the photo hadn't been about them. It had been about me. And somehow, that was enough to ruin their night. 3 days passed before I booked the train. I didn't announce it, didn't ask permission, just packed a weekend bag, forwarded my calls to voicemail, and stepped onto the 0738 from Garmisch to Nürnberg. When I rang the doorbell, my mother opened it with a forced smile, the kind she used to give to committee women she disliked but had to impress. "Cassandra," she said, voice clipped. "We weren't expecting you." "I know," I said. That's been a theme lately. The house hadn't changed. Same porcelain bowls on the console, same framed landscape in the hallway. But everything inside felt colder. My father emerged from his study, glasses still on. So you decided to show up, he said, like it was a provocation. I was never given the chance to show up, I replied. We didn't argue, not at first. We just floated through small talk. The weather in Garmisch, work, train delays. Not one word about the photo, not one word about the party. Until dinner. Jason arrived with Megan. She looked polished. He looked tired. The meal was tight and tasteless, full of chewing and silence. Then Megan broke first. You knew it was our engagement party, she said sharply. You posted that on purpose. My fork paused mid-air. I posted a photo from Zugspitze. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't mention anything. I didn't even know what time your party started. Jason muttered. You still knew what day. I knew you were having a celebration I wasn't invited to, I said, keeping my voice low. And I was living my own life. Megan scoffed. That caption was a direct hit. No, I said. That caption was the truth. Jason looked at me then, not angry, just exposed. Like he knew. Like he'd known all along that cutting me out wouldn't stay quiet forever. What stung wasn't the confrontation. It was how quickly they turned me into the villain, just because I refused to disappear quietly. The clink of silverware against porcelain was the only sound left. No one touched the tart, not even Megan, who had complimented it at Christmas. Jason's fingers tapped against his glass, silent code for anxiety. And then, with a single breath, he cracked it open. Megan didn't want you there, he said, not looking up. Just that. Not an apology, not a preamble, just a sentence that sliced clean through the room. She said it wouldn't feel right, he added. That it would change the mood. My voice caught before it reached my mouth. So that's what I'd become. A threat to the mood. Megan crossed her arms like she was bracing for weather. She said you never tried, that you always kept your distance. I was never given a place to stand, I replied. I met her twice. Each time she smiled, asked surface questions, and walked away the moment I brought up anything real. Megan's voice tightened. Jason told me you've always had this need to make everything about you. I turned to him. He didn't interrupt her, didn't shake his head, didn't flinch. You told her that? I didn't stop her from thinking it. And just like that, it made sense. Not just the party, but the silences, the missed calls, the hollow answers. He hadn't just distanced himself. He'd handed me over. Let someone else write my character out. You let her believe I was the problem, I said. That I'm loud, that I demand space. When the truth is, I spent most of my life shrinking to fit this family. My father shifted in his chair. It wasn't our place to interfere, he muttered. No, I said. It never is it? Not when it matters. I looked at Jason. I was your shelter, your voice when you didn't have one, and you erased me for peace. The silence that followed was heavy, but no one denied it. That's what hurt most. Not being excluded, but how easily they'd rehearsed it. I didn't slam the door when I left. I just stood in the hallway for a moment, coat in hand, shoes still damp from the light rain outside, and looked at the people who had once defined my idea of home. They didn't stop me. Not my mother, still frozen beside her untouched dessert. Not my father, hands clenched in a way that said more than his silence ever could. Not Jason, who finally raised his eyes, but said nothing. I walked out. The air hit sharp, like something clean. At the hotel, I unpacked what little I'd brought. A change of clothes, a laptop, the jacket. The same jacket Jason had given me when we still spoke in full sentences. I folded it over a chair and sat down by the window, watching the city lights flicker behind the fog. No one called. Not that night. Not the next morning. And for once, I didn't reach first. On the third day, there was a knock. Not a message, not a call, an actual knock. I opened the door to Jason. He looked smaller without the room behind him. "Can we talk?" he asked. No pretense. We sat by the radiator, knees apart, not quite facing each other, and he said the words I never thought I'd hear. "I was afraid of losing her," he said, "so I made it easier for her to dislike you." I didn't interrupt. He kept going. "I let her draw you as the threat. I never defended the truth. And the truth is, you're the reason I even know what loyalty looks like." It wasn't an apology wrapped in excuses. It was just honest. Later, when I returned to Garmisch, I didn't unpack everything. Some things stay folded until the room deserves them. But I did call Jason. And this time, he answered. Fully. The photo I posted that day still sits on my profile. I never deleted it. Because it wasn't revenge. It was reality. And sometimes the truth has to come before forgiveness, even if it arrives dressed as silence. If you've ever felt quietly erased, not through insults, but through silence and omission, you're not alone. Leave a comment if you've ever stood on the outside of something you were supposed to be part of. Sometimes, the most powerful thing we can do is tell the truth without needing it to be accepted. And if Cassandra's story echoed something in you, subscribe, not just for stories, but for the quiet strength behind them.